If you've ever wanted to know how often you should or shouldn't be changing flies, it's coming up on this episode of Fly Fish University TV. So we're out here, and one of the questions that we get the most is how often should I be changing flies? So sitting on the water, and I've got all these flies in this fly box, and you might wonder, like, how do you know when is the right time to change flies? And this is a very valid question, because I think that something that people get way too wrapped up in is thinking that the fly is actually the culprit. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a good rule of thumb, which for me is about the 15-minute rule. Okay, so if I know that I'm in front of feeding fish, I know that the fish are around, they're happy, they're looking for food, and I'm not catching them, I will not typically give a fly longer than 15, maybe 20 minutes. But something to consider, every time that you change the fly, you aren't fishing, right? Every time that you change the fly, you're pulling the fly out of their zone, and you're basically bringing your chances of hooking a fish to zero. So one of the worst things that you can get wrapped up in is thinking that you need to be changing flies all the time. Something that I'll typically do is I'll look at the length of my leader, the diameter of the leader, the speed and the depth at which I'm fishing the fly far before I'm actually going to look at changing the fly. Changing the fly can be obviously the deal breaker, but a lot of times there's other things going on in your setup. And we love to ask the question, what fly are you using? But we never ask the question, how are you fishing it? Are you fishing it high in the water column, low in the water column, fast, slow? There's so many different factors that come in above just what fly to use. So really something to consider when you're on the water is not just what fly am I fishing, but how am I fishing it? Am I actually fishing in front of feeding fish? There's so many other factors to really take into consideration, and that is just a quick snippet on how often you should or shouldn't be changing flies.